All right, team. Thank you for joining with us today. A very good afternoon, good evening. Today's session, Salesforce Data Cloud, Calculated Insights. So before we can start, so let me introduce myself, Anindra. I'm a Salesforce MVP and a Salesforce Enterprise Architect, which include Velocity and AWS. I'm a group leader managing Singapore Salesforce Marketers and Slack chapter, and I'm a Salesforce Marketing Champion as well. So I think pretty much we have learned many things from the past couple of days, right? So we'll recap what we have learned so far. So what I'll do, I'll just go and then showcase what we have learned so far in terms of as a flow. I'll just open my existing CDP flow. So if you look at what we've learned so far, we have looked at ingestion and modeling, and which is nothing but how the data will be ingesting into Data Cloud, and how we define the data model from data source objects and data lake objects. So once we have done the ingestion and modeling, we're identifying the data and identifying the right sources of systems, and then the data will be adding into our data source objects, DSO, and after that, by default, it will be moved to data lake objects, and then data model objects finally. So these are the objects, data model objects, where we're going to leverage it for designing our calculated insights, and then designing the unified rules, designing our rule sets and everything. Now we were in a position that we were into the insight stage. So we've completed all this identification, the data model mapping and everything. Now we were in a position that we have finally we are landing into insights. So I'll let you know what is the benefit of an insights. So the calculated insights are really powerful. If you look at in a marketing cloud area, right? So if someone asks you, the marketing manager asks you saying that, Funny, we would love to calculate the ACV of certain customers. We would love to calculate the loyalty member partnership or the loyalty member type based on some sort of transactions or the purchase history. So ideally, what we do is we will write an SQL queries, and then we will denormalize the data, and then we will move the data into subreddit extension in Marketing Cloud, right? Or else we use heavyweight lifting of our programmatic skills to design those inside Sales Service Cloud or any other clouds, or eventually it's a loyalty cloud. And then we will do heavy lifting in terms of writing all these queries and everything, right? But using Data Cloud, we have a concept of calculated insights where we can design all the insights, and we could use those insights for segmentation, and then we can use the same segmentized data to send back to marketers, where marketers can leverage those insights for better target to the right customer with the right cross-channel orchestrations. All right. So let's go back to our insights again. So the presentation, we'll talk about a couple of the best of calculated insights. So this feature, which is very powerful in Data Cloud, this feature lets you define and calculate the multi-dimensional metrics on your entire digital store, which is stored in Data Cloud. So what you can do is you can create metrics such as RFM scores, which is nothing but recency, frequency, monetary value of each and every customer. You could calculate the engagement score coming from the engagement data. You could calculate the churn rates, most viewed categories, product cluster analysis, and customer satisfaction score at a profile level, as well as you could use the same scores for a segmentation, and you could use that as a population levels, or you could use any other specialized metrics inside the calculated insights. You can look at your, the right-hand side, how many different kind of fields available, all the data model objects available. Using the data model objects, you could design a lot of insights, and you could use a lot of functions inside the calculated insights. If you are good at SQL, I think this is the best platform for everyone who learned and then who is going to explore on the data insights. If anyone has any questions on performing how calculated insights works, so this is a documentation where I would give in the chart link so that you can go and then try to find out. I'll just share it with everyone. So let's go back and with continuation of calculated insights. So what else we can create with these metrics, right? So with the CI, which is nothing but calculated insights in Data Cloud, you can create metrics on any dimension. Let's take an example. you could define a matrix based on product to identify a product purchase, or you can browse behavior in addition to the profile level metrics, or to understand the channel performance at channel level as well, because we're getting a data from a different source of channels. If you look at the data coming from your engagement from Marketing Cloud, you're getting a data from your personalization platform, you're getting a data from B2C Commerce Cloud, Loyalty Cloud, and all this stuff. So you can create a lot of metrics with all this data via data model objects. And then the marketers can use this calculated insights to define the segment criteria. And they can use the same for personalization attributes for activation using metrics, dimensions, and filters as well. If you look at this query, so this query contains all the select statement, which include the different dimensions, which include the different groupings and all the functions that we used at. And at most, not only leveraging marketers, but even for analytics team, the data analytics can visualize these calculated insights in CRM analytics to understand the patterns in metrics. So that's the benefit of leveraging these calculated insights, not only for marketers, it always helps for other team members who are a part of this digital agency teams or data analyst team. It's so powerful where they can leverage this for visualize the calculated insights in different analytics platform to understand their patterns in different behavioral patterns, different patterns across the metrics. So the biggest question, like, so funny, what are all the benefits? What are all the benefits? What are all the calculated insights help you understand customers in depth with metrics at every stage of the customer journey? Of course, it gives you the in-depth metrics at every stage of the customer journey. So some of the benefits are like, it'll give you a large scale analysis, nothing but you can build metrics on large scale data stored in data cloud, because data cloud is having millions of data or trillions of data coming and hitting into data cloud, right? So using these functions, if you look at this right side functions, using these functions, you could use and grab those functions to perform a deeper analysis, such as ranking customers based on spend, or you could use an engagement scores to perform based on personalization, known and unknown behavioral data. And again, this calculated insights is perfectly near real time, almost like real time. What it does is, this calculated insights has not only for the out of the box using code builder, or out of the box using a brand builder or point and click, it always supports for streaming data as well. Because we have a different ways of calculated insights creation. I will showcase that in our demo. So what it does is, you can use the streaming insights. You can use the streaming insights to fetch data from the streaming sites as well, and then you could design those streaming insights. And at the same time, it'll give you a lot of powerful insights using the different functions of logical, mathematical, statistical, and it times to series functions and complex workflows as well. And again, why this is a benefit is, this is zero maintenance, no user action required. What it does is, all the calculation insights are automatically recomputed when the base data set changes. Let's take an example. When you want to add additional fields or additional attributes at a data source level, once you add an attribute to a data source level, it automatically moves to data model. And what it does is, you don't need to apply or come back to your calculated insights. It automatically apply those changes, and it automatically adopt those changes, and will automatically recompute when the base data changes happening. Because any incremental data change happening will automatically add it to the calculated insights. You don't require to become every time to the CI and then try to change the query. And the most important thing, it is like a Salesforce flow, so it's a very very easy of use, point and click with Visual Insights Builder. So I can showcase how it can be, the look and feel. And the most important thing is, it's integrated with Salesforce, because as I told, Data Cloud is not only for the marketers. Data Cloud is for core platform, the core Salesforce system. You could use the same level of set of objects, which you can combine with flows, and you can combine with normal Salesforce org, and you could turn the actions into different insights, because as they're deeply integrated into segmentation and activation, right? So these are all some of the benefits for calculated insights. When it comes to the demo, so I'll showcase how the calculated insights that we can create inside the Data Cloud. And I would love to showcase a demo that was presented by some of the partner architects once I complete my demo part as well. Let's go our demo. So if you look at our system of Data Cloud, so I'm logging into our system of Data Cloud. So here I'm going to, turning into how we can create our, how we can create our calculated insight. So after we complete our data streams, data ingestion and modeling, you can see data lake, data modeling. Once we done the identity resolution, creation of the identity rule sets for from the whole 18 million data into turning into 2 million data to find out the identity individual profile data. Once this is done, we have an option of calculated insights. Now, if you look at the calculated insights, we have an option here. I click on new. So there are different type of ways you can create a calculated insight. You could create with the builder. If you just click on builder, the builder is a playground where if anyone works with the Tableau our analytics studio in Salesforce, it's exactly the same. It doesn't need any programmatic skills is required. So if you look at calculated insights, you just choose a calculated insight and then create a certain object. So these objects are all your data model objects. And what the benefit of this is, if one of your team member have been created a calculated insights where you want to leverage that existing calculated insight and you want to extend it, the existing calculated insights, so you also have an option as well. You see, some of the insights also you could use for designing your orchestration for input as a data. If you look at, you're going to take individual as a data, you look at the respective fields of individual, just click on next. Now you can see, and then you can perform different kind of joins, aggregate functions. You could work case, filters, transformations, arithmetic expressions. So these are some of the expression that what you can define. If you look at, if you want to do a join between, another table with an individual table, maybe an individual has a relation to the contact point email. You can just check contact point email ID as an ID, and then you can just choose next. And then it'll ask you what kind of joins you want to do with individual ID as a party ID, and you want to do any other arithmetic expressions which needs to be involved on this. So if you want to do a right join or if you want to do a left join and all the details. So it's like what I would love to talk about is like pure plug point and click kind of functionalities which you can go and then build. Not only this, apart from this, you have a better option of creating calculated insights using a different options in data cloud. So if you look at one of the calculated insights that what we designed, if you look at our engagement scores for one of the marketing cloud Einstein. So if you look at the expression that what we designed for creating this, look at edit. So if you look at the query that what we have leveraged from the left-hand side, the fields, and you can see the respective insights that what we have designed. You can use and drag and drop those as well for leveraging this. And at the same time, you could see the functions, what kind of functions available for you to design some more aggregated functions, time functions, other functions are available inside your data cloud. So you could design a pretty high level insights for your customers, for your marketers, for your analytics team to define at a glance and at a scale as well, right? So not only this, you have an option where you can go and then create these insights. You can create, currently, there are different ways of insights you can create with the builder, the visualization builder. So there's another way you can create with SQL, which SQL expressions. You could use a package because if someone of your development team is creating calculated insights in another CDP org, where you could create a package and then you could bring the data of calculated insights into different CDP orgs as well. And we have a data streaming insight. This is what I'm talking about. I would love to talk more on our next slides on the streaming insights as well. But as an interest of time, I would like to just play a demo, which can definitely gives a lot of impact on the calculated insights. And let me just play the demo, how the calculated insights will define at a high level from the partner cam. Right, so just give me 1 second.
There are a number of different ways in terms of getting data into, but now once you have this data, how do you actually drive some insights about your customers, your segments, your products, and so on and so forth? And so Calculated Insights provides this analytics platform where you can define multi-dimensional metrics such as lifetime value, customer satisfaction, recency, frequency, monetary score, and quite frankly, any other calculation or a score that you may need to define on top of this data. And once these insights are defined, can be used in segmentation for you to be able to build better segments, try understand customers based on specific behaviors, specific spend pattern, and so on and so forth. And they're also available via personalization. You can activate them out to various different Salesforce sources as well as outside of Salesforce. And then we expose them via API mechanisms. So once you compute them, they are literally available for you to use anywhere you want. So the way you author your calculated insight, again, as I talked about this is a standard NSI SQL. You start with writing select statement and defining your aggregates. And then you define all of the data model objects, those are participating in creating this insight. You can define joins. We support inner, outer, inner left, righter full joins. There is an optional where clause if you want to kind of reduce the population in terms of what gets billed within calculated insights. And then you have a group by statement where you essentially define your dimensions on which you want to kind of look into your metrics. Some tips here. So when you're defining them, you will need to provide an alias. So in this case, I want to do sum of grand total amount. And then the total order amount underscore C is the measure. So that's how actually we would store this in our system. And that's how it will be available for you to refer to this value either in segmentation, activation, or via APIs. And similarly is the dimension. So few useful things. Measures and dimension must end with underscore C. So that's a way for us to understand how you're defining them. A measure must be an aggregate function. So if you do not have aggregate function, your validation will fail and we won't store it. There must be at least one measure in your calculation. And by the way, you can have up to 5 measures in a single insight and up to 10 dimension. At this time, only numeric measures are supported. So if you have non-numeric measures such as like max date, for example, that won't work. And the authoring SQL does not support like nested queries, case statements, temporary table just yet. So that's something to think about. Now, we already talked about joins. We support, again, depending upon how you want to kind of represent your data. So these are standard NSI SQL joins, inner, left, right, and full join. And here is the kind of a syntax for you to be able to express that. Now, within joins, one thing is interesting is the join behavior for unified individual. So let's look at this specific insight, right? So in the join, what it does is, what it's doing right now is unified individual on sales order.party ID equals to unified individual.id. Now, in our data model, this party ID is actually linked to individual ID, right? It's because unified individual ID would be something different. It would be built after match and merge, which will reconcile sort of multiple IDs in case there are sort of multiple identities within the system. And so this is an interesting join. And the reason why I have it here is because I wanted to let you know that we kind of take care of it. You do not need to do these additional joins for you to be able to make it work. So if you look at this diagram here, the sales order.party ID is actually related to this individual ID. Internally, we have this unified individual identity link object, which essentially maps individual ID with a unified individual ID. And so typically you would, from here, you would go to individual and then join it with the unified individual via the help of unified individual identity link. But, we kind of save you that hassle and we are able to drive that relationship and you don't need to worry about traversing to unified individual identity link. So that's just one thing to call out. So in terms of what are the supported aggregate functions and operators at this time? So we support typical aggregates such as sum, min, max, count, average, and mean. And in terms of the functions, logical not, less than or equal to, greater than, greater than equal to an N. And again, these are something that you would expect in a standard NSI SQL, and that's what we support. Again, we're starting small, but in upcoming releases, we will be opening up some of these capabilities in a quite significant fashion. Other interesting thing to understand is some of the datetime function. Now, some of these datetime functions like hour, day, month, quarter, and year, we provide additional datetime function, a behavior where you may need to kind of roll up your metrics. So let's say you're collecting your metrics on an hourly basis, but then you may want to kind of roll up them to on a daily basis or a monthly basis. And in that, if we think about hour as a NSI SQL function, it's just going to return you an integer, right? So if you are on, let's say, 9 a.m., it will return 9. And that may not be useful if you are rolling up data, in terms of a higher level time dimension. And so some of this behavior is a little different in a sense that these would actually return you a timestamp, right? So when I say, give me which hour of the day it is, it will not only return you the hour, but also the day and month and year. So that way, if we need to then roll up to the higher level time dimension, we can do that. So just to kind of understand, these are 5 such special functions that we provide, such as hour, day, month, quarter, and year. Other thing with respect to time is like a time zone, and it's a little bit more than just a calculated insight topic. But just to reiterate, the timestamps, all the timestamps in your data, including in calculated insight, are stored as UTC. And then time zone across all of the C360 audiences services, such as including calculated insight, are picked up from your org tenant time zone. So, and there is no other way to configure them. So these are kind of important things to understand. So moving on to the next topic, which is automatic refresh. Now, once you create this calculated insight, it doesn't mean that we will compute your result once and that's it. These insights are run on a periodic basis so that as you're ingesting more data, as the new data is coming into customer 360 audiences, you have the all fresh insights. Every single day you have a brand new, latest, most recent insights. So if you look at this particular example, so let's say there is a one specific user, and on January 1st, they spend, let's say $5, right? So the insight will say, hey, this user spent $5. Now on the second, let's say the same user spent $10. So then you don't need to run that insight again. We will run it automatically, and then you'll have a new value that's 15. Now, how often we run them, it essentially depends upon how you have defined your SQL, how you have defined your insight. If you have not defined any date and time dimension, then we compute them once every 24-hour period. But let's say if you have a dimension there where you want to be able to compute something on a monthly basis, then it just doesn't make sense to run that calculation every single day. We will run it once in a month, and so on and so forth. Now, when you create some of these metrics, as you can see with so many dimensions and measures, the data volume and number of metrics can explode. And that has impact in terms of how long we can store some of these metrics. And so the hourly metrics, so for example, if you computed something on hourly basis, those are stored for 48 hours, and after that, those are discarded. The daily metrics are stored for 365 days. Monthly metrics are stored for 5 years. Quarterly metrics are stored for 5 years, and yearly metrics are stored for 20 years. Now that leads us to another interesting topic. So what's going to happen? So let's say I have these hourly metrics, and after 48 hours, I will not be able to get to them. Yeah, you won't be able to get them on an hourly resolution, but you will be able to get them on a daily resolution. So the system is built in a way where certain metrics can be rolled up to a higher time dimension automatically. And these are count, average, sum, max, and min. Yeah, you will not have a data on hourly resolution after 48 hours, but it will be available on a daily resolution. So then if you go ahead and query the same metrics by day, you will be able to get them. And so that's how we kind of make sure that we don't have, just petabytes and petabytes of data just sitting in these metrics, but at the same time, give you ability to query them at a higher level in dimension. And so this is how it rolls up. So your hourly data after 24-hour gets rolled up to daily, daily gets rolled up to monthly, monthly gets rolled up to quarterly, and quarterly gets rolled up to yearly after 4 quarters. Now, there are certain limits in calculated insights that I think everybody needs to understand. One of them is calculated insights per tenant. So you can create maximum of 200 calculated insights, per tenant. Now, in a single calculated insight, you can have up to 5 measures, like 5 metrics, and then you can have up to 10 dimension. So those are some of the limits to be aware of. So far you have seen that.
So if you look at the demo, right? So so they've clearly articulated the limits of calculated insights and at the same time, so the refresh intervals. And as I said, the benefits of calculated insights would be you don't need to command every time to do changes on the metrics or the calculations over there. It's automatically calculated once we design at one calculated insight. And tenant is nothing but your entire data cloud instance. So per data cloud instance, so there are 200 insights that you can create, which using different insights, metric insights options, and yeah, pretty much those are all the insights we have. So let's go back and then let's find out some more useful information. So if you look at so one thing we have loved to talk about is what are the different kind of insights. So some people who are really capable doing the query, some people who are really don't understand the language of SQL, and some people don't understand the concept of streaming APIs and all this stuff, right? But with the different personas together in order to build the calculated insights inside data cloud. So we have a different kind of calculated insights, the ways of creation. If you look at our different ways of calculated insights, so the typical insights we have is like so there are some data that are processed. There are some calculated insights which are processed through batches, which is nothing but our source data coming from different sources of sales, service cloud, loyalty cloud, or a commerce cloud. So that's nothing but your profile data and the engagement data ideally. So if you look at our profile data, so that is coming through the batches. And if you look at the streaming insights, we have other insights that what I've showcased at the time of creating a new insights. If you look at the create streaming insights across the dimensions from your customers, real-time data sources. So we look at the create a real-time streaming insights. So we have an option here where these insights also process through streaming events, which is most likely engagement data which comes through streaming insights, right? So we look at the ways of creating a calculated insights. So the one thing is a builder. So this is a place where the admins or people who don't have a background about the programmatic things, I think they can use and leverage this builder with a visual builder like a Tableau builder, and you can go and then create the calculated insight. And if people who are really good at SQL, they can go and then design the queries, and then they could design the calculated insight. And there are some certain customers who are really good at building, third-party customers like Accenture, Capgemini, Deloitte, and all the different kind of companies where they build a lot of exchange packages. They build a lot of packages for data cloud where you can go and then use that packages to leverage the existing calculated insights using this option, like kind of a deployment kind of a thing. Like if one of your developer working in different data cloud org, where he builds some CI calculated insights for one of the financial customer, and the same financial customers where you are working on, and you want to use the same metrics, you can use, they can create a package using data actions. I'll showcase that. And the same metrics where you can leverage inside your data cloud org as well. Like you can create from a package, you can just click on the package, and then you have an option where you can choose the ready-made packages what you have been created for different kind of a thing. And then you can go and then you can package it, and then you can deploy it to different data cloud orgs as well. At the same time, we do have an option for streaming insights, the one which I've told engagement data, and you can see the streaming insights which are designed, and this is the kind of query which you could leverage inside your data cloud. And this is all the real time, if you have any web events, mobile events, or any other streaming data that you would love to connect with, real time systems, you could use those systems to connect, and then you could use the streaming insights for for sending data, or receiving data from different systems. So at the same time, in Streaming Insights, we have the output file of the Streaming Insights where you can leverage this output file and then connecting this insights with different systems using webhook. Or you could send the data to Salesforce CRM and Marketing Cloud, and so these output files which you can create, these Streaming Insights, what we have designed, we can use the Streaming Insights to connect with different source systems also through an output file, and that information can be done through concept of this like data action targets. So these data action targets are the one who we can connect and then send all our calculated insights back to different sales, service cloud, marketing cloud, and third-party systems as well. You could design the target where you would love to send through webhook or through a platform events, because these data actions not only for ingesting data from different orgs, but always it has a capability to send the data from one data cloud org to different orgs as well. Because it supports platform events, it supports webhook, it supports marketing cloud connector as well. So that's what the agreement states that. So you can go and then create a data action target, and then you can define the action target name, and then you can generate if you select the webhook, so you have to generate your you can generate your URL. You can explain how the webhook will be generated inside the data cloud, and you could enter that URL to publish it, so that the third-party team leverages webhook to ingest the data from data cloud to other systems. So these are all typical ways of creating a calculated insights and then deploying these insights to the multiple orgs. At the same time, we can use other orgs calculated insights in our data cloud org as well. So I can just showcase one more simple demo of how the calculated insights demo will be happening on a real time. So that gives a little more explanation. Right? So let's
insights. And here is a canvas for me to define the insights. So as you can see on the left-hand side, I have all of the objects that I have ingested in Customer 360 audiences. And these are essentially DMOs. And in this case, I'm looking at the sales order DMO. And all of the attributes of a sales order are right here. And now I can start defining calculated insight by writing standard SQL. So this is an NSI SQL syntax, which kind of lets you build these queries. And then we would materialize different measures and dimensions so that we can store them, compute them, and then you can use them later on. So in this specific instance, I want to kind of understand how much customer is spending with us by few dimensions. So in this case, it's the grand total amount, right? So that's my LTV. And then I want to kind of look into this data by customer. So that's why I have that unified individual. I also wanted to understand how much they're spending on an hourly basis. Again, I don't know how useful that is, but you get the idea. And then I wanted to understand what are the different product categories they're spending on. And then because all of these are like a sales order, grand total, or unified individual, or product, all of them are coming from different DMLs. We could just employ a join exactly like how you would do in a standard SQL, NSI SQL. And then I would say, okay, group this information by our product category and customer ID. And at that point in time, you can just go ahead and save this calculated insight. Now, once it is saved, let's say LTV 7, save it, and then I go to the segmentation. So once you create this insight, we will go ahead and compute it in the background, and results would be available. So now I'm in a segmentation canvas. As you can see, all of these insights that I created are now showing up within segmentation. They typically show up where they see related entities. So because in this insight that we were building, we were using unified individuals, so they're actually shown under unified individual. If you are building them against some other entities, they'll show it there as well. So let's pick up one of the lifetime value calculation that I created. And so this was the LTV, right? That's just what we created in a previous step. So I'll just drag and drop. and say, okay, all right, I want to look at the customer where spend is greater than 500. And then I can actually add one of the dimensions. I could say, all right, product category, and I want to say, all right, this is the rental gear product category. And then I'll be able to sort of build a segment based upon the insight that I just created. And not only in segmentation, you can also use these insights in activation as well. So I am in activation screen, as you can see. And these calculated insights, as you can see, are available in segmentation, in activation as well. So you can activate out these insights out to Marketing Cloud, S3, and so on and so forth.
Yep. So if you look at so what are all the things that, the typically in Data Cloud, what we can do using once we create a calculated insight. So we have a powerful insight that we could leverage it for, segmentations, and we could use it for activations. So that's the beauty of insight, right? So typically, if you want to do all these things, so it'll take a lot of time for us, and a lot of efficiency factor will come into the picture for doing in Marketing Cloud or any other Sales Service Cloud or Loyalty Cloud orgs, right? So now we'll talk about a little bit about the streaming insights and actions. So if you look at the streaming insights, you look at the action targets and the what we are talking about, how we would love to they stream the data, or how we would love to leverage the event stream processing from a near real-time data, such as websites or mobile SDK directly into Data Cloud. So when you look at the streaming insights, so how the entire pipeline will come into the picture is, so there are real-time sources which we have has been sitting under websites or mobile SDK. So we had a topic which we have explained last couple of days back, how we could ingest the web and mobile event data from a typical SDKs into Data Cloud. And then that's typically a kind of a real-time sources. Once we have a source data has been coming into Data Cloud, so we can do a identity resolution mapping, and then we could start designing insights. And within the insights, we have some sort of calculated insights rules where it's completely an optional where you have. And once we design the rules using an insights, we can enrichment the data, and then we could use the data into the data actions. And the one which I've showcased to you. So in the data actions, so you have an option that you could expose this data and to different systems or webhooks or Salesforce code using a Salesforce platform events. So the same kind of a pipeline that what I've showcased here. So this is a platform where we can go and then create a data action target. So this is the target that what I'm talking about. So you have an option here to create a different data action target to send the same calculated insights back to the other systems to make it more countable. You can just send this data to platform events through Salesforce native cloud, and through a webhook. You could use a webhook for different systems altogether. And of course, you could use the data to send it to Marketing Cloud as well. This is one of the options as well, through data action targets. Right. So this is the complete streaming insights and action pipelines will take care. But if you look at, what are all the typical use cases when we talk about different systems altogether, the service and support, so if people want to have a knowledge articles as a user engaged with before calling a support. So if none of the article have been not found, so he'll choose an option to call the support. So this can tell an agent what would not be helpful to the customer as they've already been exposed to those resources. And at the same time, some of the use cases, especially on intelligent routing, employee engagement, and when it comes to customer feedback, account engagement, location-based engagement. So these are all some of the streaming, insights where you can leverage across the systems, like a points balances. If you look at the loyalty cloud, the points balances, like the loyalty points are balanced in Salesforce core platform. So based on the order transactions and social share. So at the same time, we could send customers a product installation video based on a product purchase in near real time, like for lead scoring and for financial services. And is there any smart meter, log scanning? So there are plenty of use cases which we could define. And probably I would love to share this deck as well to go through what are all some of the use cases where the streaming insights will definitely help you out to make it more accountable for each and every scenario. So when it comes to the difference between calculated insights versus the streaming insights, so the calculated insights would be a high volume data, which is processing and metrics generation. But in streaming insights, it's more like an engagement data, which is continuation process of stream as data is received, right? So The data is collected in batches, collected insights as set of records and processing as a unit. But in streaming insights, it's happening even in real time. When the event happens, it comes to the real time. So when it calculated insights, so the perform complex calculations usually, as we know, because this is the data which we already have. Because once we design the unified profiles, and then it's always better to take that data because we already have a pure data available, so that from there we can create a calculations usually, and it supports the large historical data as well. But when it comes to streaming insights, but it handles a micro batches of few records, because the streams comes and hit again within a fraction of a couple of seconds and all. So the streams will come and hit on a micro batches. And when you look at the example, the customer rank by spend. So I can design a rank, how much I spend based on my loyalty and all this stuff. But in streaming insights, you have an example. If you click on any streaming analysis or e-commerce or transaction, so all the data will hit into streaming insights, and then you could design our real-time data. That's what we're calling as a customer magic. So look at the streaming table. You can understand the streaming table, especially on the real-time scenarios, how the data stream will hitting into your unbounded tables, and all the new data in data stream, which the new rows will be appended to be unbounded tables. So because the data stream has an unbounded table will cause, because it's a micro batches, right? So when the data hit from data stream, it always have a different kind of micro batches, which the data contained in temporary window is a common pattern, because that is what streaming data works for even in platform events as well. So if you look at the streaming insights, so at 12 o'clock, we had this event has been created. So customer ID has viewed the page, one page view. And at 22 seconds, he has viewed one more page view. So it's a combination of all the page views for different customers. At next 5 minutes, so the aggregations is going to be happen inside the calculated insights in data cloud, which gives a lot of measure values. And you could use these measure values for making a better orchestration in the cross cloud journeys as well. Look at the how the streaming insights has been really, make it more significant way through an SQL query. Look at the count of real-time mobile events. You see the RDLM, data model table. How many number of page views has page views, and which is as I said, you have to do an aggregations with your individual table, and then use the start end functionality from the real-time mobile events, which joins and group by your mobile event date times as well. So this is a simple query, how we can design a streaming insights. And finally, the example results, how it showcase when you really looking at a glance, start, end time, customer ID, what is the product even viewed, how many times he viewed the product. So all these things which you can design inside your streaming insights. So there are some limits in streaming insights. Per tenant of streaming insights is 10 allowed per limit, and total allowed CA is almost, as I told, per tenant is 200. And there are some different allowed limits for measures, dimensions, aggregations, joins, aggregation types, data sources, result data sources. And if you would love to, connect using webhooks, using JDBC APIs, so you could leverage those limits as well. And when it comes to data actions, so the data actions are the one which have designed the actionable insights, which you can leverage the rules, which you can leverage to enrichment the data of the calculated insights at what we have seen in the earlier demo. So let's go back, and then we'll see some of the data actions we have, especially on what kind of data action targets, what it definitely gives you. I have a small video. I'll just showcase that, which gives you a lot of beneficial as well. So now we'll talk about how this calculated insights can be leveraging in segmentation as well as the data actions as well. Right.
Talk to you about how to find these calculated insights in segmentation. And so as we saw, you find these insights in the attribute library for segmentation under the object referenced in the SQL. So if you have in your SQL references to certain tables, these calculated insights are going to show under there in the attribute library. Alternatively, you can also search for these calculated insights by name. So there's a search area above, as you can see, search attribute, and you can just type in the name of the measure that you're looking for, and it'll find that measure and bring it out to you directly onto the attribute library. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Now, two is data availability for calculating your segment. The data is available to be computed and refreshed. The timing depends a little bit on what you have on your query. By default, it's 24 hours to actually get the data to be refreshed and available for you to count it and compute it in segmentation. And then the third thing as to best practices is updating a calculated insight. So in order to do that, you first need to delete the segment that is referencing that insight, right? So you can't create a calculated insight, go utilize it in segmentation, and then later on reference, change that calculated insight because it's referencing a segment that exists already. So you need to delete that segment. You need to find that segment yourself. We don't really help you at the moment. So you're going to have to find the segment referencing that calculated insight before being able to delete your calculated insight. Best practices. So just wanted to say here that we've tried hard to have the UX in segmentation being consistent with what the marketer experiences in general with standard dynamic segmentation. So once you bring in a calculated insight measure, the experience is exactly the same. The operators are exactly the same, etc. So it's a consistent experience. Number two here is we suggest to group your metrics that are relevant together on the same calculated insight. Why? Because otherwise you could create like a huge monster of a calculated insight that references 10 different tables, and that would not make much more sense after a while, right? You would get lost in that view. And so we really suggest you to group together things that make sense for the right object. There's a maximum of 5 measures per calculated insight, every time. So there's a maximum. So you can't just create a huge calculated insight with 20 measures because we won't allow that. Be mindful of this. The next topic is talking about the differences between calculated insight and dynamic segmentation. And so if you're a marketer or if you're implementing this for the first time, you can see that there's an overlap between what standard dynamic segmentation can do and what calculated insights can do. There are different options to choose from to perform your data transformation. And choosing the right one depends on what you're trying to do essentially and the shape of the data. The dynamic segmentation canvas provides segmentation operators to cover a lot of filter scenarios that are fairly common the marketer may have. So simple aggregations, counts, some max, min are some of the aggregations you have access to. Filtering also is there. However, we have a limit of 2 years span of data. And so if you reach these limits, then you should essentially go with calculated insights instead. So calculated insights is really best for a few things. For more complex queries, where there's non-trivial calculations, complex queries that involve multiple objects at the same time, so you can actually do that in your SQL. And then for other purposes as well, like reusability. If you want to create a view, a SQL view that you expect to be used multiple times across different values, then it makes sense to actually use a calculated insight, and then you just plug in the numbers that you want. But the calculated insight view essentially acts as a template for you or for your marketer. So ease of reusability and efficiency is also at play here, and this is what I want to highlight. I think this is very important, right? Like if you should consider once you have a use case to understand whether or not you can just implement it via standard dynamic segmentation, or if you need to go with calculated insights.
Now you can see the differences of how we could use a dynamic calculated insights into segmentations, and what are all the benefits of the calculated insights to, especially for doing a large complex query operations where the systems won't support, and where this is a platform where you can go and perform with the trillions, millions of data which you could leverage, the fast processing operations. Of course, this entire model has been dependent upon CIM. That was more granular details about the fundamental system of architecture which is given by Data Cloud. All right. So these are all some of the streaming insights. So I have something to showcase on the enhancements. Some of the enhancements, especially on the recently happening with CI, the calculated insights. So you can see that, as I've told, we have no code insight builder. You can just leverage the calculated insights builder that you can do plenty of stuff for non-developers or the non-query operators. And at the same time, you have different enhancements which is created for metrics on metrics. You can build a comprehensive insight such as engagement scores, customer health score, and customer attribution scores as well. And it could organize the complex calculated insights, SQL data into different logical steps, which such as powerful workflows and include reuse as well. So this is one of the latest, which is done through the builder. And pretty much we have, that's it. I would love to coverage. And there are some other limitations, especially on the builder. The builder limitations are metrics on streaming insights, where it won't support streaming insights or database objects, and you can't able to clone the builder metric calculated insights. So there are some elements will be supported, some which are not supported, and there are some other support functions, especially in the our insights builder, which is math and statistical functions, logical and operations, transformations, analytical functions as well. And you can see the metrics on metrics, what are all the behavioral and limitations are supported. It supports for one or more child calculated insights within the parent insight. So you can see that I have an option where I can choose an existing insight, and then I can use that as a source, and then I can create some more insights as well. And there are some different limitations, especially on measures with the select class referencing a child calculated insight measure. And I would love to share this back as well in the later point of time, so that I can go through some of the behavioral and limitations, especially on this this area of calculated insights. So that's all from today, team. So hope you understand what is the benefit of calculated insight. And then you have an option where you can use the calculated insights across further, because after this we have a session of segmentation and activation, the segmentation and activation. And now we can understand more on where you can use the calculated insights in segmentation and activation, how to activate the final unified data sending back to Marketing Cloud, and where you can use the unified data for sending to Commerce Cloud and other clouds as well. All right, so that's it from my side. Is there anything that I can help you out? Any questions? I'll help you out as well. So we have a session on next 28th, next Tuesday and Wednesday. We have a session on segmentation and activation, and we have a session on package manager. We have a session on the deployments, how the deployments happens inside the Data Cloud, which is nothing but your we can just check the respective sessions. So you can go and then register those sessions as well, because we have a next couple of sessions on the Salesforce Marketing Cloud development, SQLs and APIs, SDKs. And after that, when it comes to Data Cloud, segmentation and activation, and then I'm going to talk about packaging and data kits. So this is a placing an area where you need to understand more how to deploy, or how to deploy our components to a different org, and how to ingest the other org components into CDP or the Data Cloud. And after that, we have one more session on Data Cloud, which is on Salesforce Data Cloud best practices, and the Salesforce Data Cloud development topic, on Data Cloud APIs and SDKs and everything. So we have another 3-4 sessions on Data Cloud, which we can roll it out by end of the April, and then we can start Interaction Studio on Datorama as well, right? If any questions, I'll happy to help you out. And thank you for joining again. Let me know if anyone has any questions. All right, team. If no questions, I think I'll done the session. Thank you for joining again. Have a good evening. Thank you.